humanity does not yet know the power in its hair. That's where I'm going to start with. And it's a strange video, this one. It's different to my other ones because my other videos, I've kind of had like an ailment of some sort and then like try to figure out energetic ways of healing it. Like what's the true root cause? And then usually if you find like or bring awareness to the true root cause, that's sort of the energy behind whatever's wrong with a certain body part or whatever, or an element of the external reality, it simply like dissolves. You have to find the true root cause. Whereas there's never been any kind of issue or problem with the hair on my head. So I just felt very guided to speak about hair, but it felt like a blank canvas because I didn't know what to speak about. It's like, oh, my hair's just it, just is what it is, like hair. What kind of, it was just like, don't know what I'm going to speak about. But those are the words that came through, first of all, is humanity does not yet know the power in its hair. And I sort of, I guess, had to go on this voyage about how to find out, okay, well, what makes it powerful? And how can we maybe even empower it more? So out of curiosity then, I kind of Googled, and I hadn't really read anything about hair before, thought about it deeply. It's just like been there. So I started to Google, look on the internet, like, okay, well, what's like, what other people's opinions about the energetic sort of purposes of hair, all the religions, all the cultures, the indigenous tribes, the Incas, the Egyptians. I like to look at all the different perspectives, and usually there's a pattern between all of them. So just as the results came up, I was like, no, don't look. I had this aversion to looking at, the results, because you can't like unread what you've read, and you can't help but be influenced by what you've read, whether you agree with it or not. So it's, for some reason I was like, no, I need to keep whatever knowledge that needs to come through about hair. I initially need to start with something, I guess, from a purer source that isn't sort of, I guess, contaminated by the dogmas of all of the belief system that happen on planet Earth. Because often the truth gets like downloaded through, into like certain individuals, and then the truth gets very distorted as it's sort of like passed along through books or like Chinese whispers, that kind of thing. So if you're looking on the internet about like what the indigenous tribes were, but you're not going to get like the pure source of whatever it was they knew about hair. So I instead then went, okay, well, I have a clear channel to sources in high dimensions. I'm not going to have any information from the third dimension yet. I'm going to go straight to them. And again, I was a bit confused about where I needed to go with it, apart from this sort of element that there is power to our hair somehow. So yeah, so I've actually filmed the channel. It's just like me asking questions. I don't have a crystal ball. The word channel, whenever I think or say like, oh, I'm channeling, I just think of like like a mechanic, like not any specific mechanic, like the art, a caricature of a mechanic. Oh yeah, channeling, like someone like making fun of you, because it's just so weird to some people, isn't it? And like, why should you? I don't believe half the people who say they're channeling. It's good to not believe. I mean, well, who knows where they're getting their information from? But anyway, need to get the mechanic out of my head, and it doesn't even exist. It's just like, and to some degree, every human being, every living thing, channels. You can call it many different things. It can be gut instinct, intuition. I know, like really, like men who are really good at business, say, no kind of like spiritual inclination at all. No religious sort of affiliation. They just have, and they're very, very logical, very pragmatic. But there's also this other side to them, which is just goes on hunches, just kind of, they can just feel an energy about something. Oh, I'm going to go there. and it's actually got nothing to do with like data or what they've experienced before. It's just like a gut instinct, and that I would say is kind of very similar to listening, to your intuition, like your guidance, but they just don't, I guess, know with absolute clarity where that information is coming from, and they don't need to know. They're having the experience of being a businessman on planet Earth. They don't need to go all like, oh, I'm channeling from, I don't know, that dimension or that star system. Like, that's just not who they want to be in this lifetime. So yeah, to some degree we all do it, but I guess many people don't listen to their intuition. They listen to like other people, they listen to like the trends or the herds, and like that sort of inner voice gets quite blocked out. It's usually the people who sort of like just go with what they want and not care, I guess, what other people think of them. They usually have quite a strong intuition, because they're believing in that more than they are the rules of society or like what other people are doing. And they're usually, I guess, they kind of stand apart from the crowd in that way. So yeah, we're all channelers, but we all do it in our own ways, in our own different ways, because we're all unique expressions of consciousness. So there we go, with this random mechanic in my head, like trying to make fun of me for channeling. I'm sure he has a good instinct about something as well. So yeah, I started to ask questions. Like, I'm very confused. Like, what do I need to speak? Like, what do I need to say about hair? And then it came through as well. So yeah, it didn't really come through clearly at all at first, because I needed to find the right questions. Sometimes if you ask like a very general question, like what do I need to know, like nothing comes up. It's like, it's not that easy. So I was like, okay, is it a pattern between me feeling very like an aversion to looking at the other cultures? Is there a connection between me feeling an aversion to reading what's online about hair because I don't want to be corrupted in some way? Is there a connection between that and the fact that I've been quite an abnormal Western female, and the fact that I have I don't go to the hairdresser. I hated it when I was a child, and as soon as I was, I think, 10, I just told my mum, I'm not going. I'm not going to the hairdresser. Never thought deeply about it. Never really wondered why. It was just something I didn't like to do. So is there a connection between me not wanting to be corrupted by what the internet says about hair, and also me having sort of like a very strong childhood instinct about not having anyone tamper with my hair? Yes, there is a connection to that. And I guess I don't heat my hair, I don't dye my hair, I literally just wash it sometimes and then leave it. And this is just the way it is. So I straightened it recently because my son, I think this is why I got into the topic of hair, because my child came home with head lice, and then I was just like, as soon as someone mentions head lice, I was just like, couldn't stop itching, and my instinct was to straighten my hair because thought the heat would get rid of them, but really what got rid of them was coconut oil, tea tree oil. I don't even know. I was combing my hair. So strange. Like, nothing came out. I was just like constantly itching. I don't know if it was like phantom head lice, whatever. So anyway, I straightened my hair because of that. I just thought, oh, I'm gonna like rise a fever in my hair, so like these like the body does with germs, like get the buggers out. So how was I going? So I was very confused about what I needed to speak about hair, but there was obviously something about the way I'd kept my hair pure, whereas many other females hadn't. That was always something that came up my early 20s. I worked in TV, And sometimes when there'd be like this drama recon or whatever, like they needed a medieval princess or whatever, it's like I was always asked, because no, they couldn't find anyone, any other female. They go to like casting agents, whatever, get an extra or something. But everyone had like some modern thing done to their hair, and then they said they need to get a wig or whatever. Whereas like I was just going around with this hair, and so I was always asked to be like the medieval princess or whatever, anything to do with hair before 100 years ago. So I guess I kind of always stood out just for the fact that I was keeping my hair pure, but I never thought deeply about it, never thought hair represented anything, never thought about the energy behind it, nothing. I just had an aversion to anyone or anything doing something to my hair. Another weird thing I did as a child was if I ever went to like a beautiful spot, beautiful part of the world, like on top of a mountain, overlooking a lake, I'd get like pull one of my hairs out, and I just like drop it. I wasn't like anyway, sort of like really that. I was kind of, I don't know, I always just felt sort of like a divinity there, nothing religious, very protected all the time, even though not necessarily like happy in the world. And I just loved doing that. Whenever I was anywhere beautiful, it just found it very like empowering. Like I felt like I could sort of I felt like I was giving a part of myself to like this beautiful spot. And like that this spot would always have a part of me there, just as I would have a part of it in my memory. It was just a very strange, I haven't done it as an adult. So I did that when I was younger, and then when I spoke about that when I was older, I was like, oh, did you do that, Charlotte? And no one else did that. It was just something I did. Later I read that there are other realms in every single, the space we walk through. There are just so many dimensions. It's not just this tiny bandwidth that we're on. Other beings in other realms actually love things like human nails and human hair, and they're usually very attached to like the kind of like spirits of nature. They love it. There's part of me, as a child, that hadn't learned, but instinctively, like I guess very intuitively knew to offer my hair to nature for some reason. And if we think about what happens, when someone goes to the hairdresser now, they'll get it cut, but like, where does that hair go? So yeah, I never went to the hairdresser for 2 decades, until I met a friend who's relatively like holistic, and she's always been a hairdresser. And she said, no, I'll cut your hair for you. Like you need to have experience of cutting your hair. Like, I'll keep it as natural as possible, but you need to like have some sort of framing or shape. So I was just like, okay, I can't be like, I should try new things. Like what, maybe I like having my hair cut because it's like with someone I know. I wasn't, and it was bad. Like, and she said she's done it 2 or 3 times over the last 3 years. Well, it's just like whenever I see her, she gets the scissors out. So she then just like cut my hair like to this length, these bits. But it's been like ages since she's done that. She did that, and but what she did with my hair every time was walk down to the creek straight after and throw whatever she'd cut from my hair into the creek. So I guess that didn't feel so bad either. There's something about me giving my hair to nature that was very, I guess, profound. Like if you're gonna cut it, you can't just like waste it almost. And there's something about my hair in particular. And I think my hair stands out to higher dimensions, I asked what it looked like to them, because we don't necessarily look human to them. More energetic dimensions and beings just see reality in a completely different way, just like an ant sees reality in a different way to a human. It's more about colour, and so I asked, okay, well, if we're, the veneer of our physical body isn't actually real, why is hair so important if the physicality of it actually isn't real? And so the answer to that was, hair is the physical manifestation of the crown chakra. And before that, I'd asked, what does my hair look like to, a fifth dimensional being? And the answer was, it's golden and it's sparkly. And so that's like how this appears in higher dimensions. And I asked, does all human hair look gold and sparkly? No, not at all was the answer, but mine is an example that does. Now, I'm not the only one, but I think because I've just randomly and instinctively kept, I guess, the channel pure, that's why it's coming up as being golden and sparkly. And then I asked, is this why I get so, such clear channels, whereas I guess the majority of people don't get very clear channels to their guides, their sources of information, their lineage and other star systems. Why am I, is the fact that I've kept my hair quite pure one of the reasons, at least, why I'm able to channel, for instance? Yes, that's the message. The messages actually come through my hair. That was quite a profound statement, which I never knew. You kind of just think it lands in your head. But it's coming into the hair, but in a fifth dimensional way, it's dropping through the crown chakra, but we're seeing our crown chakra as hair. So hair is antenna. It's, just like a little ant has these, antenna, or wherever you see antenna. And we've got tiny little hairs all over our body as well. And hair is very electromagnetic, it's crystalline in nature. It is picking up on extrasensory information all of the time. So, but are we able to pick up the messages if the channel isn't clear? No, that was the answer. So this was where I guess this whole video was going. Humanity does not know the power in its hair, but the essential part to that is that the channel needs to be clear. You can only pick up the messages when your hair is clear. Now, about 4 weeks prior to this, prior to the head lice as well, someone said to me, as an intuitive person, you need to start having showers. So random. And it's like, because I have baths, sometimes, in the evening, I don't know, just find it relaxing, maybe. It's just like this habit. And and the reason why I needed to have showers instead of baths was to cleanse the EMFs that are coming from other human beings. Okay, what's a shower gonna do about that, But that's a very human way to look at something like that. You can see the act of having a shower as very cleansing. It kind of fresh water is coming through, and it's taking away the old, isn't it? Whereas if you're in a bath, you're kind of stewing in the old, and then there's no fresh water coming to cleanse. And it's interesting to even think about the concept of EMFs. We think of EMFs as Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, all of that. But more powerful than that is the EMFs. We're all electromagnetic beings, and the electric magnetic pulses that are coming from other people are going to be huge. You don't even need to be in close proximity to pick up on someone else's electromagnetic field. We can pick up on someone's field. I'm in London. You could pick up their signature if they're in Japan, for instance, because that's the way energy works. So I needed to, for some reason, cleanse my hair from the EMFs of other people. Now, I didn't listen to that advice because I just went about, carrying on with my habits as we do. And then, about a week later, that's when this head lice thing came up. And when you got head lice, you kind of need to have showers and comb. Again, I don't know if I had them, I just couldn't stop itching. You need to have showers, I put coconut stuff in, and then comb the hair. And then during that whole week, I got into the habit of having a shower. Now, nothing was going to make me have a shower faster than having head lice in my hair. So this is, again, how reality works. So you see head lice as horrible pests, which I did in the beginning, and I acted like a normal human, get the fuck out, and then I thought back to the mouse video that I did when I had mice in my flat, and then actually it was such a blessing because I decluttered so much stuff. They only go where the junk goes, and when you clear the junk away, the mice go. So I started to think that way about why these head lice had sort of come into, whether they were there physically there or not, it doesn't even matter to them. Because, we create our reality with our thoughts. So the fact that I thought they were in there and I had showers meant that the idea of head lice being in my hair, I was getting into the habit of having showers, and then lo and behold, I can't stand baths now. After that, it's why on earth was I having baths for all those years? So in a way, it was to cleanse my hair even more than I guess it was. Having showers it clears the channel, and it's becoming even more crystal clear as time goes on. The messages I receive. So yeah, reality is so bizarre, but beautiful. And so then during my channeling session, I got onto the subject, or I started to ask the question, okay, what do other people's hair look like energetically? To say a fifth dimensional being, and it would be the description was Ursula from The Little Maid, that black swaying seaweed, dark, clunky, very clumpy and put together like that. And if you start to sort of go into the 8th, 9th, 10th dimensions, where it's less about colour and light, it's more about sound, and that's sort of where frequency comes in as well. And so a 9th dimensional being would not necessarily be able to see someone's crown chakra, but they would hear the frequency of the hair crown chakra, but they wouldn't call it that. And so mine would be, now I'm saying my hair is golden and sparkly, which is lovely, but I do have, I don't want to be boastful about that. It's just the fact that I've kept it pure, I think, and I have other issues, other ailments going on in other body parts, which I can wholeheartedly say do not look golden and sparkly. We all have strengths in some areas and weaknesses in others. So this my hair for some reason is, I guess, energetically speaking, a strength. So I asked, okay, then what would so it looks like Ursula seaweed if it's, I guess, quite dense in energy, it's almost blocked. The antenna has been cut off from the source. What does that sound like? And the sound was on the old TV stations on the 90s, like that. You go on to and it's shh. It's that. So it's it's not able to tap into the right channel almost. Yeah. It's doesn't know where it is. So, okay, so we know, I guess, the fact that I haven't let other people cut my hair or even play with it or tamper it, I barely ever style it, I just sort of let it be. The fact that I've sort of done that has allowed my channel to be very clear, messages go through the hair, which is a physical representation of the crown chakra. And okay, so what are other people doing that's, might be tampering with that? And so there were two things that came up that were major blocks on people's hair. And the first was hair dye. Now, the word dye is a homophone. So that means that when two words sound the same, but apparently it looks on the surface that they mean completely different things. So, dye could mean you die, as in like you're dead. Or hair dye could mean your colour in your hair, a different colour than it naturally is. But what you usually find with homophones, because our words are spells essentially, is that there's been like some sort of weird overlay gone on, I think, in ancient times of language, where they actually mean the same thing, but they look as though they mean different things. So we can see it in the word doctor, for instance. Now, doctor could mean someone like a GP you go and visit if you've got like an ailment and you need, I don't know, someone to help you work out your symptoms with you. Or it could mean if you've got a document, you're going to doctor it so it looks not in its true form. Kind of, if you doctor a document, it feels like you're kind of sort of like doing something fraudulent, maybe. Like you're making the original copy distorted in some way. And so in that way, you could say, particularly if you are more holistically minded and you don't like allopathic medicine, you could say that both those versions of doctor mean the same thing. So, because that's essentially how one could perceive a doctor treating the human body. So there's so many words like that, where they, if one word means the same, it's just like, it's really interesting topic, that one. I might do a video on it in the future. I think I have to read up more, catch up on the latest on that one. So where was I? Hair dye and hair extensions. So hair dye wasn't the worst, but the hair extensions was actually for a better word, because there's no judgment here. I don't believe, there's part of me that doesn't really love like this alternative scene right now, which has got really trendy. It's like how to be like a holistic god or goddess, like as pure as possible and like no toxins. Because although I do believe in keeping your energy clear and light, you're mainly happier and more joyful for that. There's an element of superiority that goes on in that alternative world, where, I don't know, they think that people who aren't doing SM are like less than them, or they won't mingle with, and really we're all spiritual beings having multiple different experiences, and that imaginary caricature of a mechanic is just as, spiritual as me. The businessman who has a gut instinct is just as spiritual as me. But he's just choosing to experience maybe a further, a different degree of limitation than I am. That's all. And so I don't necessarily think we all have to be like major toxin blockers, or don't dye your hair because it's toxic or it's bad for you. Because essentially we're all having an experience, and I do believe in the beauty of limitation as well. So maybe you're meant to dye your hair because you wanted to have that experience. It's not like in any way a judgment or to make anyone who has dyed their hair to feel bad. I've done so many mistakes in other parts of my body, which nothing is ever a mistake. It's just a learning experience. So hair dye. So what you're doing when you're dyeing your hair is you're essentially making your hair dead. That was what was coming up. The word is the same thing, die. And the physical act of it is, breaking apart the protein in the hair. That bleach will break the protein and the structure of it. But also it cuts off the antenna completely. So, because on a physical level, like brown hair in particular is loaded with melanin, which is also, in the thing that tans our skin and in our irises. What does melanin do? It absorbs light. And so if you're then erasing that method of absorption of light, then you're not going to be able to pick up on the light or the messages or anything. It's just been blocked. But everything has the capacity to heal. And I guess it might take more than just growing your hair. You probably need some sort of energetic treatment because there's probably going to be trauma in your hair for having its antenna cut, essentially. Like if you snipped or bleached the antenna of an ant, it would probably be traumatized about having one of its senses taken away. But because we're so sort of, humanity is so sort of deactivated from using its 6th, 7th, 8th senses, we don't even know what we've lost because we don't really use it, do we? Whereas I would know what I lost. Did something happen to my hair and then I wasn't receiving just the clear messages all of the time? I feel so guided. I feel so protected. Feels like I'm bathed in light. Like it's like there's no fear. I feel very connected. And interestingly, when I started to look up sort of what other cultures thought about hair after this channeling session, they used to cut the hair off witches because they believed that the witch would not have any power without her hair. So there's loads of myth, folklore, lots of things in ancient scripture about the power of hair, which we in this world, in this time today, seem to have just sort of like forgotten because we don't use it as much. So yeah, hair dye came up as a big one. It essentially just erases the connection, and it kills it. So, but it doesn't matter if you want to dye hair. Like free will is the most powerful thing. You might just want to be in a body that experiences dyeing hair. It's not something like to feel bad about or judged about or even judge yourself about. You could maybe decide not to do it. You could continue to do it. It doesn't matter. It's just coming up for me, that's all. And so then the bigger one was hair extensions, which is slightly crazy because you're not actually dyeing your hair like with hair extensions. You're just like, I don't even know what people do. They glue it in or something. But what was quite, I guess, disturbing about hair extensions was that I think most of the time, is it real hair? I'm not sure. No, I just don't know. I don't know anything about how people modify hair because I just don't do it myself. You're essentially taking someone else's antenna and putting it on your own head, which energetically speaking is really weird and confusing. Imagine, the antenna of an ant. You take it off and you try and put it on another ant. How confusing would all the ant, there's 2 ants be, and the antenna. Why am I on a different head? So, yeah, hair extensions came up as something to be, I guess, aware about. It's not just an innocent thing. And then I asked, what was the sentence that came through? Hair is not a hat. Hair could be seen as blood, but in more of a solid, permanent form. So it's like full of information about the person it comes from. When you're putting that information then on someone else's head, the crown chakra, this is where the spirit sort of comes through. The words that came through were, it's like having the other person sitting on your head. If you've got hair extensions, whoever that's come from, it's like they're sitting on your head. And I asked if you remove the hair extensions, does that get rid of the energy? Usually removing the physical thing doesn't. No, it's not. You would need quite a profound energetic cleansing to get that energy out, because energy doesn't die when it's physically removed. It's always there unless you can clear it somehow, but it can always be cleared. So, and you're probably meant to have this experience with whoever you got that hair from as well. Like, I don't know, life on planet Earth is not meant to be a utopia. It's meant to be loads and loads of experiences with lots of different challenges. And it's like, it's a playground. It's a stage. So I'm not coming from the perspective where we need to be holistically pure and avoid every single toxin, because it's just no, it's more about the experience than being super anal about everything. So but those were the two, and the reason why I have such clear messages is because I've never really done anything of that sort. My hair and my crown chakra would be very confused if I started to put someone else's hair on my head. Because it's such a cord for me, I guess, and it's an antenna, and apparently the tips are the strongest part of the hair as well. It's not the new ones, because it's almost like the tips have had all this experience, haven't they? Lived this long. Don't know how old they would have been up there. So. Bit of a weird one. Here, I wrote down some notes. Okay. Hair sends and receives messages. So this is the real power of what hair can do, which is amazing. It can send and receive messages to anyone else in the world. It can act as our own personal email system, in a way. That person, so you can send a thought through the channel of your hair into their hair. They might not know where on earth that thought has come from, but it lands. It is more potent than email, even. Largely the reason why I can connect outside to the matrix is because of my hair. Go into that. Yeah, so we've forgotten our I said everything. I asked should I ever cut my hair again? Because when I read about the indigenous tribes after this channeling session, a lot of the information did sort of confirm what I was receiving. Basically the hair's an antenna to higher vibrational sources. That's the gist of it. And we all have our own specific different ones. And so when I read about indigenous tribes, they thought exactly that as well. And that's they never cut their hair. They just let it go really, really long because they knew the power of it. And when the Americans, they called Americans, they're not Americans yet. The one, those raiders. Can't remember what they're called. They go in, they go and take the indigenous people's lands, whatever that name was. the men on horseback, cowboys and Indians, whoever the cowboys represent. When they came to like raid all those lovely tribal villages, been there for thousands of years, living in harmony with the land. The worst thing that they did to them, from the perspective of the indigenous people, was when they cut their hair off. It was like they preferred death, like physical death, than that, because that's how important their hair was to them. And these people are very sort of grounded, very quite spiritually in tune, because they were less sort of misaligned with civilizations, than civilized people are, because we get kind of corrupted by all these civilized ways, don't we? We forget who we are, we forget our roots. They were more connected to the roots and their star systems. The indigenous people said it was a connection to their star system. And, my belief is that I'm from a different star system, which I don't even believe is out there. I think it's just a different dimension. But I think probably almost every human is also from a different star system as well. But we choose to forget. I think there's beauty in choosing to forget. So, because like when you re-find it again, it's like you really know what joy is. It's really cool. It's like not have it. It becomes more potent when we don't have it, and then we have it. Whereas if you always have something, you don't appreciate it as much. It doesn't have a power. And it's like almost like being spring, not the season. Coiled spring, like when you sort of like retreat and go, put the spring like this, it's just like, and then you can release. It's just got so much energy, isn't it? So I don't know if that makes any sense. What's the last thing I was going to do? Oh yeah, snip. You're not going to cut it, so right, where can I put you? You're a bit wobbly, aren't you? Sort one out. Okay, so I'm gonna see if my hair makes a difference, because when I was looking online, I something came up where someone said just look at what happens if you tie a piece of hair around a tree. Look at the growth in that tree. And when I was a child, there was something about me wanting to give my hair to nature. So yeah, I asked whether it's okay if I ever like cut my hair again, or do I just leave it like the indigenous tribes, like super long to my ankles? I'll go there if it's something I need to do. But the answer is like, no, it's fine as long as it's cut by my own hand. It shouldn't be cut by anyone else. And I knew that all along. So I'm gonna. Why isn't it cutting? There. Here is my hair. And I was gonna get 2 plants. I have just run out of time. So I was gonna get 2 plants and then tie my hair around one of them. See if there was any difference in growth. My little like science experiment. But yeah, I just haven't done it yet. I wanted to do this video now, so I saw this plant. He's alright. It's quite hard because he's quite ignored compared to my other plants. He's just in a different place and I forget him. Oh, I'm calling it him. So, which bit shall I tie it on? So they seem to be like the same height. They're different. They're like 3 different stems here. That one. So this one's got. Yeah, these 2 are really similar. These 2 sticks, yeah, are really similar. Are they the same height? Okay, I'm gonna put it on the smaller one. I'm gonna put it on this one. Tie it. I don't know if anyone else has ever done this in the world. God, it's just like a part of my hair that's really difficult to tie. It's weird. It feels good doing this. It just feels really powerful. It's so strange. Even my hair. I guess, yeah. Okay. I don't know, it feels really loving. It's like such a loving thing to do. Okay. Kind of hard to keep it tight. There it is. You see it? That's my hair. I gotta put it off. I'm trying to put it on my face. There. There's my hair. This is the one. He's smaller than this one. This one. So I guess maybe this is a fair experiment than if I got two plants, because I'm going to water this plant amount, the same amount. It's going to be in the same position. Let's see what happens to the growth of this one compared to these other ones. That's the smallest one with my hair on it. I'll put that on the end of the video. How long shall I leave it? 7 days, okay. And I perhaps maybe hypothesized that the stem of the stem I put the hair around might maybe grow a little bit more, hopefully a bit taller than the others. And it was the shortest one, but I don't know, something more show-stopping occurred, and that was before. I'll give you context. I've had this plant for about 3 years. It's never grown any different. It's not like gone any taller, no new blooms or whatever. So, but now, it was only a couple of days after I put my hair around the stem, new leaves on the stem began to grow only where my hair has been spiraled around, where the hairs meet in contact. So so I guess that was it's a good way to show that indeed our hair is so powerful, it can help plants to grow. And I bought a couple of other sort of pink flowered plants. Forgive me, I don't know the name. I'm not that great with flowers and plants. And I've placed them in the same kind of pot, each one on my balcony. And in one plant pot I put a little bit of my hair, and the other one I've neglected and left. I didn't give it my hair to see what would happen. Maybe the flowers with my hair on it might grow more. Maybe there's more flowers, maybe it goes taller, and the other one would stay the same. Now physically I've kept everything the same. I've watered them the same. They have the same access to sunlight. They're right next to each other. And something weirder happened with that one, in that the one with my hair kind of growed normally within the space of a week, less than a week, the plant that didn't have my hair was just shriveling up and dying. All the flowers went, and that was strange. So I then felt a bit bad, so I gave some of my hair to the other plants, and then two of them, they both have my hair now. And within 2 days, the plant that I gave my hair to, all the flowers came back. Now they're the same, they look the same. So that was a bit crazy, because, we do know that the trees, plants, animals, us, we're all telepathic energetically. Plants especially know how to communicate telepathically. They say it's just the fungal networks. I think it's way more than that. Everything's got its own sort of Wi-Fi field. There's something about, my theory is there's something about the plant that didn't have my hair, that knew it didn't have my hair, and was just like shriveled up and felt neglected. And as soon as I gave the hair, it grew back. Now, why hair? I don't know the solid answer to it. My sense is that because our hair is antenna and it is full of cosmic information, particularly my hair. It's almost like seeding and activating growth, or high vibrational energy at least. It would be interesting to see what happened with different types of hair. So I just told my mum about this. My mum is an avid gardener, and as soon as I told her, I was like, you never guess what hair does to plants, because she loves, little like elixirs and how to get plants to grow better. She never once thought about hair. Who does? We're not told, are we? She's just, as soon as she's got off the phone to me, I think she's going to go and see what happens. Her hair from a brush. See what happens to her tomato plants. I said we'll do one tomato with your hair and one without. Now she dyes her hair, so I'm not sure what's going to happen with that type of hair. I suggested doing another one with the dog's hair, because the dog has never even had a bath apparently, so that's pretty pure. So there's another experiment going on with 2 tomato plants, my mum's hair, and then no hair, and then dog's hair and mum's hair. So I don't know what's going to happen there, and maybe my hair had something to do with it, my will. I'm not sure. But there's definitely something in this.